Now, women were denied equal education till the 1680s. Now, let me give you a little bit of background on this. In America, Sir Edwin Clark, he wrote a book on sex and education in the year 1873. Sex and Education, which argued that if a woman is encouraged in academic study, that would affect the development of the woman's reproductive organs and the reproductive functioning of the woman. Now that argument had a lot of influence even in England, and the very reputed psychiatrist, that is Sir Henry Maudsley, he endorsed this argument, and so on both sides of the Atlantic, that is in England as well as in America, equal education was denied to women because they felt it would come in the way of a biological functioning. And in India too, since we were under the British rule, the same things prevailed. But of course, the two world wars shattered all that. They shattered the myth that women and men were unequal in different ways. Because while the men were conscripted in war, women, took up all the positions that fell vacant when men went into the war. So in the past, they were dressmakers, milliners, governesses, seamstresses, and now they took on all the vacant positions of, in the ammunition factories, has radio operators, has plotters, has machinists, and they did all the jobs that men were doing, before the world wars. Now, there is a very famous saying, when you educate a man, you educate a man. When you educate a woman, you educate a nation, you educate a generation. Now, many countries, claim that this saying is theirs. But, they have tweaked it a bit. In Africa claims it is theirs, India claims it is theirs. Modi mentioned it in his speech on Teachers' Day in September 2014. But they have tweaked it a bit, Some say when you educate a woman, you educate a family. Some say when you educate a woman, you educate a nation. Some say when you educate a woman, you educate a generation. But the reason behind this is the woman spends more time with the kids, compared to that of the man. So she has more time, to nurture the kids, to stress the value of education on the kids. And if an educated woman, would also look into the health, hygiene, sanitation of the children, maybe help the other women also in the community, or help the other women in the village. And of course, you can see the world wars show that because the women were a little bit educated, they could don the mantle that men had in the past. What I want to emphasize today is collective leadership. You need not be a solo leader leading from center stage. So change can also come about, by being a participant. Just by being a participant, taking part in something, and you can bring about change. I want to give you the example of the Dandi March. Now, the Dandi March was against the salt tax imposed by the British government. And only the British were allowed to make, sell, and buy. I'm not to buy, to make and sell salt. So Gandhi started his march from Sabarmati to Dandi against the salt law. But women were prohibited to join. Now Sarojini Devi Naidu, she was the leader of the Indian National Congress. She rebelled against this prohibition against women to join the march, and she participated. And when she did this, hundreds of other women joined. and participated in the march. And so they walked from Sabarmati right up to Dandi, which is 200 miles. Women walked along with the men, and the march was very successful. And women started manufacturing salt, buying salt, and selling salt. Now, this is what I want to emphasize, that each one of us, can be a participant, by coming together and having self-help groups. Now, there are many self-help groups in India. I'm just giving you an example of a few. One is the DD Bank, which is an initiative by 12 women to provide microfinance to small-time, vegetable vendors, construction laborers, etc. Then, of course, you have creative handicrafts. It's an NGO which I was associated with, on the social service management project. Here, women have got together. It was, of course, started by a nun, Sister Isabel, in a small slum in Jogeshwari. But today they make beautiful, purses, bags, bags for laptops, belts, and they have a big market in in Spain. And then, of course, closer to home, close to where Annette is, you have the Navjeet Community Center. Oh, there you go. She's a director. Yeah, so this operates from the complex of the Holy Family Hospital, and then they make very nutritious food, delicious food, which they sell at budget prices. So things like this can happen. We can form ourselves into groups such as these in order to improve the livelihood of women. So you need not be an Indira Gandhi or an Angela Merkel or a Margaret Thatcher to bring about change. Every individual can also be a leader to bring out change. I can give you the example of Rojama from Andhra Pradesh. Now, she was a victim of domestic abuse. A poor laborer, she was a very poor laborer, but she had this alcoholic husband who used to beat her black and blue for money. And every time he fell short of money for his alcohol, he used to violently abuse her. So one day she couldn't take it anymore, so she went to the neighboring hut. She went to the neighboring hut to tell that woman about her plight, and she realized that that woman suffered the same plight as hers. So the two of them went to the next hut and the next hut and the next hut, and they realized that all the women were going through the same treatment, inhuman treatment. So they all took it upon themselves, to go and picket the liquor store. So they went and picketed the liquor store, they get out the liquor store, and they saw to it that the liquor store was shut down. So it became a kind of a movement, and in many villages around the place, women got together on their own. They didn't need to have a leader. They came together and they managed to put an end to this social evil, at least in their communities. Now, talk about the culture, the angel in the house, what Anusha talks about gender stereotypes. Now, the angel in the house was a poem written by Coventry Patmore in England. And the angel of the house was supposed to be the perfect wife. The self-sacrificing, beautiful wife, attending to the demands of a husband, looking after the household needs. And just like in India, you had, the Sita stereotype. People expected the wife to be like Sita, the wifely virtue, being beautiful, non-complaining, etc. Now, how did women change, this culture stereotype? Now, they did this by their writings. So, poetry was written for change, so what they did through their writings, they tried to kill the angel in the house and put back the woman in the house. So Kamala Das was one of the Indian poets who shattered the myth of the angel in the house. She said that she couldn't fit into that mold. She was getting very, very suffocated, by playing or by doing all the things that were prescribed for her to do by a patriarchal society. So she broke the myth and she wrote poetry, which was formerly prohibited. Words and language which was prohibited to be used by women. She used those words. She celebrated her biology. She proposed adultery. And she said her husband had given her the license also to commit adultery. So by doing all these things, she shattered the earlier myth that women were supposed to be dutiful, self-sacrificing, and attending to the needs of her husband and her children. So that I've taken poets from 3 different continents. Now, Adrienne Rich was another American poet, a very celebrated American poet. And I'm just going to refer to just one of her poems on the grandmother. She had written about the grandmother. And I want to make a comparison of a poem written on the same topic, the grandmother, by a male poet, that is Robert Graves. He was the poet laureate of England during his times. And when he wrote about the grandmother, the great-grandmother, he describes her as smug, self-complacent, well-satisfied, like a ship which has reached the harbor because she has outlasted all male uses. Imagine a male talking like that about the grandmother. She has outlasted all men's uses, and that is why he describes her as complacent, smug, satisfied, like a ship which has reached its harbor. And on the other hand, you take the poem written by Adrienne Rich. And she describes the grandmother as a person who had a lot of money, but still she was homeless. And she describes her with her knuckles clenched, white, and sobbing uncontrollably because she knew she was going to be sent to another place that summer. That means a grandmother, though she had money, but because she was a widow in a patriarchal society, she knew she was not wanted in her own home, and she would be shunted to the home of her children, one by one. So whereas the male poet, describes the woman as, being very satisfied at that point of time in her life, the woman poet, speaks about the true experiences of a woman when she reaches, that time of her life. And of course, you have Patricia Greer, she's a British poet, and she advocated self-help. She said instead of waiting for somebody to come and help you, do it yourself. Whatever you can do for yourself, acquire the skills and do it. There are different kinds of changes that can be seen in women. So if given the opportunity, these are the changes that can come about. And through the feedback we got, we had an adult literacy drive program, and we could see that all these things came about, when women were educated and they had some kind of literacy. And this is the cultural shift, we could see the tipping of the employment scales. Both men and women, realize that both genders can do anything. So from homemakers, they became breadwinners. From arranged marriages today, parents give a couple more time to get to know each other. People have a voice today from lack of information and knowledge about other cultures due to the internet. And now I'll just give you a few snippets of the adult literacy drive which we conducted. It was a self-help group, and I felt it made a difference. And keep keeping all these things in mind, we decided this was the best project that we could take on, to improve the underprivileged. So we inaugurated the program on the occasion of World Literacy Day, and we had about 60 adult participants who had come for the inauguration, but then that whittled down to about 30. So most of these participants came from the slum community, and they were either homemakers or domestic workers. But they were all very enthusiastic and wanted to learn. Then we had, of course, our Dr. Sunita Wadikar. She's our new NASI Club Extension Officer. She headed the project. And each of us took turns in coming and educating, the participants in different skills. Then they were taught how to converse in different situations and contexts. And they were taught numerical skills, and health awareness programs were organized for them. Conversational skills and writing skills. Numerical skills, you have our Soroptimist sisters teaching them numerical skills. That is Dr. Badwar, a very noted gynecologist who came and spoke to them on health awareness and health hygiene and sanitation. And they were, of course, encouraged also to put up a play to help them with their language and diction, and it was a great success. Young dwellers and who worked as domestic help, and it was a great success. Then on the occasion of International Women's Day, certificates of achievement were distributed to these women. And now this project has won the SIBC nomination for a program award from SIGBI, which is a big feather in our cap. Yeah, of course, the winners will be announced at the conference in Harrogate, and we have two of our members, that is Dr. Rennie Francis and Smita Jain, who will be attending the conference.
My name is Geeta Patel. I attended this course for 8 months. I had a fear in my mind that I can't speak with people confidently. So I wanted to remove this fear. After joining this course, I have become confident and smart. I can now teach my children.
My name is Anita Pawar. I joined this course in September 2013. This course has helped me to improve my English. It also helped me to understand the importance of health and hygiene, and now to take care of my children's health. Thanks to the doctors who spoke to us on health awareness, I can now take my children's homework and overall studies confidently.
I am Savi Kandarkar. Before joining this class, I was shy and frightened to talk. I have 3 daughters, and because of this course, I know the importance of educating my girls to give them a better life. Thank you, SIBC.
So those were the testimonials that we got from some of our participants, and I thought it was very appropriate, to show them at this forum. And thank you for giving me your time. Let me end by this saying, there is no tool for development more effective than the empowerment of women. Thank you.